While we are highly trained professionals dealing in complex mathematical procedure, we do encourage you to try this at home as it will hopefully enhance your mathematical understanding. So welcome back to 1 Lesson 3 Math. The learning objective of this video is to be able to divide by decimals. Now on the left hand side, and you might want to pause your video just to read through this, we have some division rules. Now the first thing to note is that dividing by a decimal less than 1 will make your value increase. Some divisions can be easily switched to multiplication, so we have a list of them there. So for example, dividing by 0.5 is the same as timesing by 2, because what you're basically saying when you're dividing by 0.5 is you're saying how many times does a half go into something. So for example, if you have 2 pizzas, each pizza would be 2 halves, so that would be 2 times 2 halves, and it would be 4 halves in 2 pizzas. So 2 divided by 0.5 would be 4. Another example, we've got 40 divided by 0.5, that would be 80. In the red, I've written it using the fraction line, although we would never have a decimal within a fraction if simplified. 40 divided by 0.5. Now I've used equivalence here and I've times both numerator and denominator by 10. So I've got 400 divided by 5, and we know that that's 80. So 40 divided by 0.5 is 80. You can have a look at the other examples. Dividing by 0.2 is the same as timesing by 5. Dividing by 0.1 is the same as timesing by 10. And dividing by 0.25 is the same as timesing by 4. Now there are other dividing by decimals that can easily be switched to multiplications. You'll see some in the yellow questions. But now I would like you to have a go at the yellow questions, and then you can pause the video and hear my solutions. So, question 1, part A. Everyone likes a good part A. It's 24 divided by 0.2. If you know the rule, you can do 24 times 5, which is 120. So another method of doing that, if you didn't know the rule, you could write it using the fraction line, 24 divided by 0.2, and what I would do to both numerator and denominator here is I would use equivalence. I would times them both by 10, so I would have 240 divided by 2, and therefore I know my answer is going to be 120. So either way you can get to the right answer. It's good to have several methods and plenty of flexibility in maths. Okay, so part B now. Now this is a bit more tricky because we're dividing by 0.02. Now what I've done with 0.02 is I've changed it to a fraction. 0.02 would be 2 out of 100, and that would simplify to 1 over 50. So 0.02 equals 1/50th. Now when I'm dividing by a fraction, then I'm going to use the stay switch flip method. So the first number or fraction stays, the divide switches to a times, and we flip the second fraction. So that would become 24 times 50 over 1, which is 24 times 50, and that's 1,200. Now you can see that dividing by something 10 times smaller gives an answer 10 times bigger. Dividing by 0.2 gave us 120, dividing by 0.02 gave us 1,200. Now, on to part 2. 67 divided by 0.1. Dividing by 0.1, just move things around a little bit so we've got a little bit more space. Dividing by 0.1, if you know the rule, it's the same as timesing by 10. So it would be 670. For the next one, we've got 67 divided by 0.01. Now that's 10 times smaller, so the answer is going to be 10 times bigger, similar to question 1. So 67 times 100, and again you could use stay switch flip. 0.01 is 100, so it would be 67 times 100 over 1. 67 times 100 is 6,700. Or you could just note that dividing by 0.01 is the same as timesing by 100, just the same as dividing by 0.1 is the same as timesing by 10. Now another method of doing that is saying, well, 67 divided by 0.01. Now to make 0.01 into a whole number, you could times both numerator and denominator by 100, and that would give us 6,700 divided by 1 using equivalence, and therefore that is going to be 6,700. So again, there's many different ways that we can do this. Now, dividing by 0.5, as I said earlier, is the same as timesing by 2. So 45 times 2 is 90. Okay, for part B, I'm going to use the stay switch flip method. So I'm going to change 0.05 into a simplified fraction. Now 0.05 is 5 out of 100, 2 decimal places, denominator 100. That simplifies by dividing top and bottom by 5 to 1 over 20. So if I'm stay switch flipping, 45 stays, I'm going to switch my divide to times, and 1/20th flips to 20 over 1. So 45 times 20 over 1 is going to be, well, we know 45 times 2 is 90, so 45 times 20 is going to be 900. And again, it's 10 times bigger because we're dividing by something 10 times smaller. So there's a whole bunch of different methods there. If you know the rules, that's great. If you want to use fraction lines and equivalence, that's great too. Or if you want to change them to fractions and stay switch flip, that's excellent too. So there's many different methods there. That's Parco Sempione Maths. As I sometimes say, the analogy of going for a picnic at Parco Sempione. As long as we arrive at the same place, it doesn't matter which method you use, as long as you show your method clearly. So I hope that's been a useful tutorial on dividing by decimals. Hasta la pizza, Harry Vederchy, so long, goodbye, ciao for now, au revoir, we'll see you next time.